Hello, this is Gundam UK, and this is part 1 of my charmonth build-off model. And as you probably guessed, here is the model kit that I'm going to be painting and modifying. This is of course a master grade Ez-8 with its ridiculously huge backpack. And as you can see, I've finished assembling the kit already. This is the first Ez-8 that I've built, and it's so sturdy. It's a real nice kit. I expected it to not be so great because it's quite old, but it is incredibly sturdy, especially here on the legs. And there's hardly any seam lines to fix, which is a real joy. In fact, I don't think there's any on the kit at all that I'm gonna have to take a closer look at. Obviously there is some seam lines on the weapons. I've already started those, I'll show you that in a sec. But yeah, I really like this kit. It's almost a shame that I'm going to be modifying it in some way in order to make a Char Azanable version of this model kit. The plan is to convert the head here into a mono eye. So at the minute it's got 2 eyes, so we're going to somehow scrape away some plastic here, maybe make a few modifications here and there, just to give it a mono eye. Obviously it's going to have a completely sort of all red Char Azanable-esque paint job, so a little bit of pink, a little bit of red here and there. I'll still have to plan that. Other additions, I'm not quite sure yet. I'm just going to have a good look over it, have a good think. I'm probably not going to include this backpack. It's just, I don't know, I just don't like it. If I was building just the Ez-8, I'd make a really nice kind of weathered version of this kit. In fact, I might pick up another kit just to properly do an Ez-8. But yeah, this version of the kit's not going to have its backpack. In fact, I think I'm going to be adding a lot more thrusters, because obviously it needs to be 3 times faster. And on that note, I'm going to name this kit the Ez-24, which I think was a very good suggestion, which actually came from Zach Aurelius, so thank you, Zach. This is going to be the Ez-24. So let's have a look to see how far I've got with the weapons. So this pretty much demonstrates how far I've got so far with the weapons. I'm not going to make any modifications to weapons, I'm just going to do some basic seam line removal and do a nice kind of concise paint job on these. What I've done is I've glued all of these pieces together, left it to dry for a good 24 hours, and then I scraped away all the seam lines, got some sandpaper out, did the same thing. Then I've primed it in L-Clad 2 primer and microfiller, and then gone over the whole thing in a 2000 grit sandpaper, just to expose any more gaps that appear. And a few did on the top, so I've just got some standard Tamiya putty and applied it to all those gaps where I could see it coming through. Now this is dry, I'm going to sand this back as well and give it another coat of primer, and then we're ready to paint these parts. Also I need to of course take the head off and then take this backpack off, and then we're going to have a look to see how we're going to modify this head to have a mono eye. I'm also intending to just scratch a few lines in here and there just to give it a little bit more detail, because it's looking a little bit blank, especially here on the front skirts here and on this chest plate here. I'm also going to scribe in some lines probably on the shoulders, and I'm also considering replacing these shoulder pads with something a little bit more Zaku-esque, so probably a little bit more rounded than this. But we'll see. I'm going to have a little dig through my spares box and see what we can find that might just work. So, what I've been doing is I've been working on modifying the faceplate of the Ez-8. I've added in a mono eye. Let's zoom you in a bit so you can see this a bit clearer. I've added in a mono eye here. I filed back the whole of the visor part so the eye sockets are no longer showing, and then puttied the whole thing over, and then stuck down this tiny circular detail piece. It's a Kotobukiya detail piece. I then chopped the front off of a very old Zaku 2 HG kit, and also took the kind of mouth tube off here, and that's just going to slot into there. like so. It's just to make it a little bit more kind of Zayonic looking, a bit more Char looking. I've also been kind of re-sculpting the head, as you can see here. I took off the head cam part, completely chopped that off, stuck some pla plate in there just to fill the hole, and I've attached this commander antenna to the top, which is from this Gunpla Builders Parts MS Blade 01 set. Yeah, that's just been attached to there. And at the minute I'm just doing a little bit more seam line removal, so I've put down some Mr. Surfacer 500 along the edges here, just to clean up these. I filled in the holes where the antennas were before, just with some Tamiya putty. And once that's dry and I've sanded that down, I'm going to give it a coat of primer, just to double check to make sure the surface is nice and clean and fix any problems that arise from that. If I can put this in, I can demonstrate how the whole head is going to look. And my C section, this section, so I can kind of snap it into place, which should certainly help in the painting process. And this is it's a bit hard to keep together, but this is kind of the final thing, how it's going to look. It's a little bit more Zayonic than it used to be. But this will look a lot better once it's all primed up, because at the minute obviously it's just lots of unsightly putty that's gonna all be sanded down and made nice and smooth a bit later on. I've scribed some lines in here to the chest. Don't know how well you can see it. I suppose what I could do, if you do want to see it a bit clearer, is just give it a nice light sanding. And maybe you can see it a bit clearer now. You can see I've just added some kind of circular detail here onto the chest and scribed lines down diagonally right and across, just to make it a little bit more interesting. That's the only reason really why I've done that. I've also added a symbol of Xeon here on the shield. Again, that's just out of the MS emblem set. It's got a nice Xeon symbol here as well. That's going to inset into there, and I'll make that a nice gold colour. For the backpack, I've taken off the kind of hooks that hold on that huge backpack, and I'm probably going to be taking a majority of the bottom of this backpack off. And then I found this backpack, which is from a really old Zaku 1 kit. I carved this hole in the middle just so you can see a bit of mechanical detail underneath, and I might put like a mesh underneath that just to make it sort of a point of interest. And then I'm going to add just a few more detail parts here and there on the backpack and on the sides here, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And that's going to be attaching to this backpack kind of like that. And to that, I've got two of these Kotobukiya kind of booster sets here, and into these I'm going to be putting two metallic thrusters into each one, kind of like so. So there's going to be an incredible amount of thrust here on the backpack here. I mean, I'm kind of just going to do it as I go along, just to you know, make sure everything fits all right. I'm probably just going to drill a hole into this kind of side part here and then pop that in there. I've got a whole load of other kind of parts that I'm looking at the minute and kind of assessing if they're going to work or not. But yeah, so I'm going to get on with chopping and sticking on pieces of plastic to this backpack, and then I'm going to take a look at the rest of the kit. Maybe I did some more scribe lines in here, and I don't know, maybe add some thrusters on the back of the legs here, perhaps. I mean, it's got to be as Char-like as possible, so it's going to have plenty of thrust for speed, even though it's a ground type unit. I guess that's kind of a bit of a juxtaposition. But, yeah, it should be quite interesting. So yep, let's get on with that. So I've been fiddling around with this backpack now, and what I've done is I've chopped off some of the kind of clippy parts that are on the back of this backpack here. Also chopped off the bottom just here because it was just a little bit too long, and what I've done is I've just attached a pla plate here just to cover up the big hole, and on the back here. Now the next stage is that this part is going to be attached roughly here. So what I need to do is drill a hole in here in the exact right spot, so this can simply clip onto the back here, and this plate will go over the top of that. And all I've done here is just added a couple more bits of detailing from these Kotobukiya detail panel sets. These are available through my website, gundamuk.com, do check it out. What I need to do now is, because I've attached this pla plate on the back, there's a bit of a lip here, which means that if I attach this now in a position that I would like it in, which is, where is it, roughly, let me get it the right way around, is it that way? Yes, that way, roughly here, then I'm going to end up with a bit of a gap between this part and this part, so I need to level this part out. And all I'm going to do that is I'm just going to get a bit of a very thin pla plate here and cover up this section here, and then I'm going to go over the whole lot with a bit of putty and a bit of filing just to make it all perfectly flat. And I'm also going to add a bit more detailing at the bottom here because I can't just leave that kind of blank, it's not going to look very good, but we'll cover that when we get to it. So what I'm going to do here is, I've already measured this out, I just need to slice off a very thin piece of pla plate here, and I'm going to plop this here, just on there, so I just need to glue that into place and then sand that sucker down. I also need to get rid of these unsightly seam lines along the sides here. Well, that will be mostly covered up by the kind of thruster covers, the original thruster covers here. So let's go ahead and get that glued. So I'm going to have one of these on either side of the backpack, kind of here, as I showed earlier with the thrusters. But I've also gone ahead and built these two huge fuel tanks that are also going to go onto the backpack somehow, and hopefully not make it all back heavy. But the good thing about these is you can simply take them apart and you can make them shorter if required, which is really handy. So in case we have any weight issues, we can always take out a section of these fuel tanks. I've gone ahead and primed the head now. Here is the nearly finished head. I went ahead and did a priming layer just with Alclad microfiller. Discovered that there's still a bit of an issue here. You can still kind of see a bit of a dip where the hole was for the original antenna, so I've gone ahead and stuck some putty in there. I'm going to leave that for a good 24 hours. And inside the visor itself, I'm not sure how well you can see that, but inside the visor there, it was also a little bit lumpy, so I added in just a tiny bit more putty. And I'm going to go ahead and sand that out a bit later on. I've also base coated the weapons. They're all now ready for their full-on paint jobs. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but it's mostly just going to be greys and metallics and the usual kind of weaponry style colours. But I'm going to make sure I put in lots of colour separation just to make sure there's lots of lovely detail showing through. So here you can see I've kind of assembled the backpack now and glued it all together just to see how it's going to look. And yeah, it's pretty over the top, but I like that. It's going to have plenty of thrust, that's for sure. I'm definitely going to shorten these fuel tanks just a little bit, but we'll see how that looks in context with the entire model. So that's what we're going to go with for now. So all I need to do is just tidy this up a bit, maybe sand some parts down, and then we are good to start painting, I think. So I've just finished doing the bulk of the painting here for the weapons. As you can see, here is the one of the bazookas that comes with the kit. I just need to give everything a nice clear coat, do some panel lining and just kind of weather it up, maybe add a bit of dry brushing, that kind of thing. As for the other weapon, here it is here. Again, got to do the same thing. Got to give it a nice aqua gloss coat finish. Do some panel lining, and I've already painted in some details and that kind of thing. I've done my first test for the red here on the head, and all I did is just take a little bit of red madder Mr. Colour, mixed in a tiny little bit of white, just to give it that kind of pinkish quality that you get with a lot of Char model kits. And yeah, I think it's turned out quite nice. The only thing left to do, of course, as with everything else, is to just give it a nice coat of aqua gloss, and then we're going to put some decals down, maybe 1 or 2 here and there. I just wanted a nice stripe decal or number or something, just to break up this red. And then I just need to do some panel lining and attach a clear lens to the front here. I'm just going to get a small lens piece, and then I'm just going to paint it in some clear red or something and just attach that to this silver piece here on the eye socket. And that's about it for me for now. That's the end of this first part of the charmonth build of this Ez-8 as we're calling it. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.